I spent most of today building some drawer boxes for a project in my kitchen. These are basic 5/8 inch Baltic birch plywood held together with a little bit of wood glue and pocket hole screws. If you want to see how I made these, I have a YouTube video where I explain how to make drawer boxes 3 different ways. Today I'm going to show you really quick my favorite way to finish them, and that's going to be with lacquer. Now before you spray lacquer, you're going to want to seal the wood. It's not 100% necessary, but by doing a sealer coat with either a sanding sealer or shellac, it's going to seal the wood grain and let the lacquer start building a lot quicker, so you have to do less coats. I'm going to use the shellac because it's going to darken the wood a little bit, and that's the look I'm going for. If you want to keep this same wood tone, you'd want to go with sanding sealer. I'll be spraying with this HVLP gun, which is a turbine-fed sprayer. You don't need a sprayer to spray lacquer. You can use ready-to-spray rattle cans right from Home Depot. In fact, all this stuff I just got at Home Depot. This gun, however, allows you to spray this quart-sized can of lacquer, which is about $22, which is the same amount of spray that you can get out of 5 or 6 spray cans, which are about $22 a piece. So with a bigger initial investment in buying a sprayer, it's going to save you in the long run if you're doing a lot of finishing. I'm going to fill this up with my shellac. It doesn't need to be thinned at all, and then I'm just going to start spraying my seal coat on all 4 drawer boxes. I got my cup loaded up, my sprayer on, now it's time to seal it. I'm going to give these about 20 minutes to dry. I'm also going to coat the other 2 boxes. Then we'll come back and coat it with lacquer. Finishes can be categorized in 2 main categories. Water-based, think latex paint, and solvent-based. That would be your lacquers, your varnishes, and most oil finishes. The difference is they both consist of a base, water or solvent, which is mixed with the actual paint or finish, which is the solids. You spray it all together, the base evaporates, leaving behind the solids portion. With water-based, it takes a lot longer for the water to evaporate versus solvent-based, which is usually based with some type of alcohol-type volatile organic compound, otherwise known as VOCs. Although they're not as environmentally friendly and a lot more hazardous to spray, many times flammable, such as lacquer, they dry much quicker. The shellac is already dry to the touch, and the lacquer will be too, probably 10 minutes after I spray it, which allows you to recoat much quicker. I sanded everything down to 150 grit before spraying. You don't have to have a fine finish on the base wood. The finish is going to be dictated by your second to last coat. We'll spray 3 coats of lacquer, then sand with 220, and then apply a final coat afterwards, not sanding at all. And it's going to be perfectly smooth. I'm going to go ahead and get my lacquer mixed up. It's necessary to thin the lacquer using lacquer. I like to dilute the lacquer by 30%. So every 10 ounces of lacquer, I'm going to put 3 ounces of lacquer thin. Lacquer itself is generally a gloss finish. This is satin finish, so there's going to be a flattening agent at the bottom of the can. You want to make sure you mix it thoroughly and get all those white clumps mixed in to the rest of the lacquer, or else you're going to have a shinier finish than you want. I also have a previously diluted can of lacquer right here from the last set of drawers that I sprayed. I'm just going to mix this up so I can mix the 2 together. The ratio doesn't have to be perfect. It's not rocket science. just get close to 30%, maybe even 20%. It all depends on your sprayer. Got one of these cups from Home Depot. I'm gonna use that to make my mix. That's about 10 ounces of lacquer right there. Now I'm gonna pour in my thinner, go for about 3 ounces. I obviously try not to spill it all over the table, but if I do, it's gonna evaporate before I can even bend down to wipe it up. So I'm gonna mix this up with the thinner and then pour in my already thin batch. And that'll probably give me a full cup in the sprayer right there. Before I pour into the sprayer cup, use a little paper filter just to make sure I don't get any debris in there. And it's about full right there. All right, we got the sprayer filled up. Our seal coat is on, dry to the touch. It's been less than 20 minutes. That's what's great about solvent-based products. However, make sure you wear your respirator. The downside about wearing a respirator is it's very easy to get dehydrated. So always make sure you stay hydrated while you're spraying. Very important. All right, let's get the sprayer on and get these coated. I'm going to do 2 more coats on each of these, then I'll show you how I sand before the final coat. All right, I've been out here for less than an hour, and I've been able to get 4 coats of lacquer on every one of these drawers. They're already starting to look really good. The only problem is they feel a little coarse, and that's from the lacquer building on itself, because every layer you spray, it re-wets the previous layer and adds to the total thickness. Unlike latex paint, where each layer is going to be its own individual layer. So before we finish these, I'm just going to take a sanding block with 220 grit sandpaper and just lightly scuff this up until it's smooth. You see this white powder film start to develop. Not a big deal. That's just the lacquer dust that you're sanding off. And you're not going to want to blow or wipe this off. Once you spray on top of it, it's going to re-wet itself and bond to the previous layers, adding to the thickness. I'm not applying a lot of pressure. I'm just going over this lightly until I see that white film develop all over the entire drawer box. Come across any spots that are tacky, that means the lacquer hasn't dried yet, and you want to leave those alone. You don't have to worry about the front of the drawer box because that's obviously going to be covered with the drawer face. Once everything's sanded, you can take a blue shop towel, a microfiber rag, and just wipe it down. But you don't have to remove all that dust because it's eventually going to melt into the other layers and add to the total thickness. I would never use compressed air to clean this off because that might spray some contamination from your tank and then ruin your finish. Once everything's nice and smooth, you're ready for that final coat. I'm gonna get the sprayer ready and we'll put that last coat on. All right, I'm ready to spray my final coat. I have all the drawers stacked up to my left. I'm gonna start with this big one on my right. And as I spray, I'm gonna lay them all on the face down because it's gonna be covered with a drawer face and nobody's gonna see it. So I'm gonna make sure I get good coverage inside the drawer box and on the other 3 sides. I thinned this last coat down a little more than 30% just because I want it to just lay on top lightly and wet the previous layers and blend in and make one nice smooth layer that I've already sanded. And that's how we spray a lacquer finish. Total time spraying, less than 2 hours. I got 5 coats on each one of these, sanding between coats 4 and 5. It also includes 1 coat of shellac, so that's 6 coats total. Thanks for watching.